Recently, this channel just passed its 1-year anniversary, so to celebrate my anniversary, let's talk about some other cool anniversaries that video game franchises have had. The first video I ever uploaded on this channel was a video about Sonic the Hedgehog, so I think it's fitting that I talk about one of Sonic's anniversaries first. Sonic's first big anniversary celebration was his 10th anniversary in 2001. This year, we got the release of the highly anticipated Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast. This was a bit of a bittersweet release, as Sega only a few months ago announced that the Dreamcast would be discontinued. Luckily, this game wasn't forgotten, as the very same year, Sonic Adventure 2 got an updated re-release on the GameCube, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which has improved multiplayer modes, 60 frames per second cutscenes, and a handful of other quality of life improvements. This year also saw the release of Sonic Advance on the Game Boy Advance, which harkened back to the classic 2D Sonic platformers but with a modern twist. These two games alone made for a really nice anniversary. You got two brand new games, one which represented the new age of Sonic, and one game that reminded us of the good old days. But there were some other things that were a part of this 10th anniversary celebration. We also got the Sonic the Hedgehog Birthday Pack, which is a Japanese exclusive special edition of Sonic Adventure 2 that has a special coin and a soundtrack CD containing several songs from Sonic's past, like Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1, You Can Do Anything from Sonic CD, Can You Feel the Sunshine from Sonic R, and a unique song called SA2 Vox Tracks, which is a mix containing snippets of several of the Sonic Adventure 2 vocal songs like Escape from the City, Fly in the Freedom, and Live and Learn. This anniversary also included the Sonic Premium Birthday Party, a fan event held by the developers of the game Sonic Team, where they would go to different venues and have a cute little birthday party with fans, where they'd play games, talk about the series, and there was even a neat little Sonic birthday cake. Oh man, I would have loved something like this as a kid. So, now that we've talked about a good anniversary, let's talk about a bad one. For Super Mario Bros. 25th anniversary, we got Super Mario All-Stars. Again. Super Mario All-Stars is a 16-bit remake of the first four Super Mario Bros. Games: Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 2, The Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2 USA, and Super Mario Bros. 3. Instead of giving us something new for the 25th anniversary, Nintendo basically re-released the same game they made over a decade and a half ago. The funniest part about this is that the original Super Mario All-Stars was kind of an anniversary game too, as it was made 10 years after the first Mario game, 1983's Mario Bros. To add insult to injury, the Wii version of Super Mario All-Stars isn't even the best version of Mario All-Stars, because a year after the original Super Mario All-Stars was released, Nintendo put out Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World, which added Super Mario World to the collection. It's safe to say that for the 25th anniversary, we got bamboozled. The Wii 25th anniversary Super Mario All-Stars did come with some goodies, like a little booklet that goes through Mario's history and a CD with music from the games, you know, just pretty basic stuff, nothing that's really gonna get you too excited. What is pretty exciting though is The Legend of Zelda's 25th anniversary celebration. For this event, we got re-releases of Link's Awakening DX on 3DS, which isn't too crazy, but we also got a completely free 3DS version of Four Swords, which added some new bonus content, which was pretty nice. We're still not done with the 3DS though, as we also got a special limited edition Black and Gold Zelda 3DS. This thing looks so clean, and the best part is that in many regions, it came bundled with a 3DS remake of Zelda Ocarina of Time. There was some other cool stuff for this anniversary, like the 25th anniversary symphony, where we had these absolutely gorgeous orchestral renditions of classic Zelda songs. There was also the Hyrule Historia. This is a book which has a bunch of cool stuff like info about the series and a short manga, but I think by far the most notable part of this book is that it finally gave Zelda fans a timeline for the series. For years, fans speculated on the timeline of the series using clues found throughout all of the different games, but finally there was an official timeline from Nintendo. And it made things even more confusing. The reason is because there isn't a timeline. No, there's multiple timelines based on what transpired in Zelda Ocarina of Time. The timeline where Link is an adult leads to Wind Waker. The timeline where Link is a child leads to Majora's Mask. And the timeline where Link just straight up dies leads to A Link to the Past. Probably the biggest release of this celebration was a brand new 3D Zelda game, Skyward Sword. This game had an absolutely brutal showcase at E3 where the motion controls just would not work, so you just had Shigeru Miyamoto flailing around. And while the game did do well, history has not been kind to this game, as many Zelda fans consider it to be one of the weaker games in the series. Mega Man 8 is also considered to be one of the weaker games in its respective series. This game, at least in North America, was released for the series' 10th anniversary. The only anniversary-related thing that came with this game was an art book, but the game did have an animated intro that showed battles Mega Man had in the previous 7 games in the classic Mega Man series. This is honestly pretty cool. The North American and Japanese versions of this game have different songs used for this anime opening. The NA version uses a completely different instrumental track, while the Japanese version has a proper song with lyrics. Switching the opening song between the Japanese and Western releases of a game was a really common thing back in the day. I remember a lot of the DBZ Budokai games using an instrumental of the original Japanese songs in the North American versions. Surprisingly, I actually prefer the NA version for Mega Man 8. The Japanese intro song, no offense to the artist who made the track, sounds like your average 90s J-pop anime opening, while the North American opening is this really sick drum and bass song with a hint of jazz and rock too. It's just so catchy. Speaking of catching, Pokémon had a really cool 20th anniversary celebration. Every month from February 2016 to December 2016, a different incredibly rare mythical Pokémon like Arceus, Darkrai, and Mew were distributed to players. There were also 3 new Pokémon games released that year. The Wii U got Pokken Tournament, a 3D Pokémon fighting game developed by the guys who made Tekken. This game was originally an arcade exclusive, but it finally got a home console release. The 3DS got some love too with the Japanese release of Detective Pikachu: Birth of a New Duo, a very weird mystery game that was released on the eShop. This was only the first 3 chapters of the game though. The full release wouldn't come until 2 years later in 2018. It seems to me like the developers weren't really sure if this idea would work, so they released the first few chapters just to see if any interest was there. Last but not least, the 20th anniversary gave us Pokémon Go, developed by Niantic. This was the game that took over the world in summer 2016. For those not in the know, Pokémon Go is a mobile augmented reality game where you catch Pokémon by walking around in real life and finding them all over the real world. Special locations in the real world like libraries and restaurants are Pokéstops in the game, places where you can stop and stock up on items. Then there's also the gyms where you can battle Pokémon from trainers on a different team than you. The team wars between the 3 teams, Team Valor, Team Mystic, and I can't really remember what the other one was called, but they were just crazy. When this game first dropped, it was a phenomenon. Basement dwellers all over the world were leaving their houses to catch Pikachus and Jigglypuffs. Local businesses were getting tons of people coming to their stores just because their locations were Pokéstops in the game. This game got people to exercise, and it established a sense of community amongst players in the same area. People would let other players in their neighborhood know when a rare Pokemon was sighted. This was like the return of the Pokemania of the late 90s when Pokemon first came out. It seemed like Niantic servers were down all the time. They just could not handle this game's popularity. If you thought that was it for Pokemon's 20th anniversary, don't worry, because there's far more. We got reprints of classic Pokemon TCG cards with more modern card design, re-releases of the Generation 1 games on 3DS, and even an announcement for the next generation of Pokemon at the time, Generation 7 with Pokemon Sun and Moon, which were released later that year. I gotta give my credit to the Pokemon Company because they really went all out. Another company that really went all out was Square Enix with Final Fantasy's 20th anniversary in 2007. They released PSP remakes of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 with updated graphics, quality of life improvements, and bonus content. There was also a PSP updated version of Final Fantasy Tactics. There was also a 3D remake of Final Fantasy 4 for the DS. Now, while all of that stuff is cool, obviously, the most important things are the new releases. Well, while this game isn't technically a part of this celebration, it was released in 2007, the same year as the 20th anniversary, so I'll count it. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII for the PSP. Crisis Core is an action RPG that acts as a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, explaining a bit more about the game's lore and characters. The combat is decent, but the soundtrack is great and the presentation still holds up. Crisis Core wasn't the only new game though, because we also got Dissidia Final Fantasy. It was released on the PSP the following year in 2008, but it's still considered to be part of the 20th anniversary celebration. Dissidia is a 3D fighting game featuring characters from the numbered mainline Final Fantasy games at the time. You've got guys like Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, Cecil from Final Fantasy IV, Kefka from Final Fantasy VI, Kuja from Final Fantasy IX, and even Bartz from Final Fantasy V. The game also has a really interesting combat system. There are two types of attacks: brave attacks and HP attacks. By hitting your enemies with brave attacks, you don't do damage, but you build up your brave points, and your brave points determine how much damage your HP attacks do. It's a really cool portable fighting game. Wow, I can't believe it's already been a year since this channel started. We're already 45,000 subscribers strong, with tons of views and likes and comments spread across 49 other videos. Because yeah, this video is also my 50th video, so hey, that's something else to celebrate. Thanks to everyone who's been a part of this insane growth, whether you're an OG that's been watching since the Sonic retrospectives, or a new fan that started watching once I began doing more varied content. There have been plenty of ups and downs. There were times when I thought I wasn't sure if this channel would work out. There were videos that I spent tons of time and effort working on that flopped. But there were also times when a video blew up far more than I ever expected. And that really gave me the confidence to continue. If there's any advice I can give you, it's don't get too caught up in the highs or the lows. Enjoy your successes and don't get too caught up in the failures. Just try to learn from every mistake and every accomplishment you make. I'm rambling, but hey, I'd never even have an opportunity to sit here and preach to you guys without all of your help. So to everyone who's ever taken the time to watch my videos, thank you.